Welcome to EQ Above IQ, Parenting with Emotional Intelligence and Healing the Inner Child. My name is Trina Casey and I'm your host. Thank you to all you listeners who are hanging in there with me and making my numbers and plays go up. I love you. No, really, I do love you. And I want more people to say I love you. And out of the gaze of masculine or feminine love, more of the gaze of, as human beings, we deserve to be loved. And though I know there are a lot of you out there whose inner childs are in pain right now, I want you to know that there's at least one person who's on this planet that is sending sincere love and compassion to you. And that person is me. So I really do appreciate all of you who have been following this podcast over the years. As I have previously said, life is lifing, and I'm trying to get them out as soon as I can. But like I said, life is lifing. I am so grateful to all my new clients who have signed up and are keeping my head above financial water. So I appreciate you as I live this life as a single mom doing her darn thing and trying to raise a responsible, caring, and compassionate young man. It is becoming increasingly challenging as social media and things like that have taken his attention, but this is the ADHD mind. And I should know with my ADD mind how easy it is to get sucked into it. So I am of the age where I can walk away. And if you can do the same, I advise it. Just walk away from the noise and please get into a place of silence. On this episode, I'm going to be talking about a multitude of things, but I'm going to deal with the elephant in the room because this is what's happening. Izzy, as I will refer them to, is now attacking Rafa. And we all see the manipulation, the plan, and the intention was always a ethnic cleansing and genocide. This is a long time in the making. It's not just now. And we have plenty of media resources to say that Met and Boo Boo, you know who I'm talking about, has been planning this for a very long time. And there's media stuff from the 80s talking about it. But I really want to send love, prayers, and please, not any just love and prayers. I want you to send high vibrational energy to all those people out there who are surviving. They will not perish. Palestinians will be here till the end of time because they've been here since the beginning. And no matter what the hegemony does, U.S. government and all the complicit other countries in the world do or try to say, we the people are the power. We just fell asleep and now we're awake. And I keep telling people, now we're awake. And so this awakening should have started with Africa, I'll be honest. But no one agenda matters when we all can collectively come together, because when one is harmed, we're all harmed. We're interconnected. And a friend and I were discussing this, and she said, what if this is like a curse? Maybe this keeps happening in different countries because it happened in the original country, the motherland first. And possibly. I've done episodes about the spreading, the colonization of trauma. That's a few seasons back, so go ahead and go listen to that. But I talk about the generational trauma of the feudal European mind and how that's just kind of been vomited on the rest of the world. And if you like to read like I do, and you are on Medium, please, oh please, click the link in this podcast and go read my Medium article I just wrote about how colonialism has vomited their trauma all over the world. And hopefully one day Europeans can wake up out of their possession. You take that as you wish, but I do with mind, body, and spirit. And I do not believe there's any separation of the three. They're all interconnected, like everything in the world. This episode, I want to talk about Gen Z. Gen Z out there doing the damn thing. Matter of fact, I think that might be the name of this podcast episode. There is such an immense of gratitude that I have for this generation. The millennials didn't quite get it. And I am of the actual Gen X. So I'm not trying to make these competitions and fighting. I think every single person out here from every generation, maybe save the boomers, they might be feeling a little bit a certain way if they're still here with us. But as a Gen Xer, I have made it my lifelong purpose to raise a child like these Gen Zs. He's not Gen Z. I started late. Actually, I wasn't going to start at all. So this has been an actual journey of discovery beyond what I ever expected being a mother, because it really wasn't on the agenda. I kind of was, as they call, baby trapped. And that's another subject. Long story short is I very much have a lot of gratitude for the Gen Zs and what they're doing out here on these college campuses. Now, one of the things that you will see, and if you haven't already seen it, is just how much the establishment, aka hegemony, is pushing back on these very powerful children, these very powerful people. They are pushing back on them with unbelievable amounts of effort. Peaceful protesters, just peaceful protesters doing their thing. And so my hope is that anybody who is out on the front lines, and those are their kids, of course, if their kids are out on the front line, I encourage everybody to get out there and get with your kids, because this change is going to revolutionize the world. These protests on college campuses are happening globally now, and I'm so grateful to them. So the Gen Zers are doing things that I dream about, honestly. And if I were not the mother of a very young child, I'd be out there as well. And I still consider 13 to be pretty young. He needs me. As a matter of fact, he has mostly only me. Unfortunately, the situation that has been created with his other parental unit has made it non-conducive to him wanting to be there and being able to depend on him. He actually feels very discarded, and I feel very bad about that. But I say all of this stuff, because Gen Zs are the dream of the Gen Xers. We knew there was something not awry, but we also felt like we didn't have much control, or, well, we had zero support. I'll be honest. Gen Xers were out there on their own. We were the latch kid keys. We were as people always make jokes, we were drinking out of fire hoses. We were sliding on fire slides that were made of metal and gashing our guts out. We were not a protected and nurtured generation. So I think as most Gen Xers have Gen Zers now, they are the parents of the Gen Zers. I think they took all of the love and all of the desire for freedom and basically implanted that in utero in their children, because I have never heard such a group of intelligent and mindful and spiritually connected group of people. Millennials, no, didn't hit it. Sorry, just didn't do it. And like I said, this is not a blame game. You didn't know what you didn't know, but I'm so happy. Anyways, Gen Zs keep doing the damn thing and protesting and fighting, because the truth is, in my conversations with the Gen Zers that I have had conversations with, is they don't feel like they have any other option. They don't feel like they have a future. They don't feel like there's a planet going to be here because of the fact that there is such a environmental hellscape created by the generations before. In Native American culture, they say, protect the planet for the next 10 generations. That is absolute polar opposite of what the agenda has been for colonial forces. They never cared about the planet. They cared about resources. I just saw a documentary about J.D. Rockefeller, or the Rockefellers. Yeah, that ruthlessness came hardcore into the psyche of U.S. citizens. And when I think of my own son's education, the one thing that pops up in my mind now that he is privately tutored, which is essentially homeschooled, is I'm so glad that he is not within the vision of J.D. Rockefeller and the Carnegies, who basically established the education system as a glorified babysitter for the people who were working in manufacturing, making them billions of dollars. And that quote is, "I want a nation of workers, not a nation of thinkers." And that is also a contrast to a lot of other cultures, of course, throughout the world. But they were very clear on what their agenda was. I've also done some study on where that education system came out of Poland during World War, I want to say one. And it was all about indoctrination of the ideology of the government. And it was Russia, yeah. There've always been this constant warring between European forces, and I have spent years now trying to understand why they just can't get along. There is I think he's a theologist, and I'll find his name, but you know me, I like the small details of these names, things I can never remember. But he was talking about the misinterpretation of the Bible, and I've never been a Christian. I've always been more aligned with Buddhism. I've been a practicing Buddhist for almost 27 years now. Buddhism can be practiced as a religion, but I am more in the philosophical aspect of it, in the spiritual aspect of it, because that makes sense to me. I'm not going to criticize or put down anybody else's faith or belief system unless it harms others. And unfortunately, the establishment of the Roman Catholic Church and a lot of Christian structures after that were a problem. And so the Rockefellers and his associates were all staunch religious zealots. And that's where I see how religion was actually a tool for control and to control a narrative with falsehoods. Because with my study of the Bible, Quran, and the Torah, I see that the mass majority of those writings were not exactly interpreted in the way they were meant to be written, and or they were written in a way to manipulate the masses into believing that just a few people were preordained. And we can go all the way back to the Sumerian tablets. We can go way back to the Emerald tablet. You can go, there's lots of things that you can read and seek out before they start trying to massively hide all this information like the Roman Catholic Church did and still does. There are tons of scrolls, books, and information that were taken from different countries during these crusades and wars. They literally burnt down the whole of Alexandria's library in Egypt. There were esoteric, there were biblical, everything was in one place, because I always say the more you know, the more you grow. And with my practice, it is one of the mainstays is to cultivate a polymathic mind, which means learn about everything as much as you can for as long as you can until the day this avatar, this body is depleted. And I can tell you from my own personal journey, there is nothing more exhilarating than that. One of the things that will happen, and I explained this to my son as well, is that the more you learn, or Temet Nosce, which means know thyself, you will also find more comfort in yourself in a world that is truly psychotic and chaotic. Not all the time, of course. There's sparks of joy and happiness. But as many of the people have gone in the way of entertainment, they have lost a lot of their connection to themselves. And so my hope is that all of this that is happening, people learn to go more deeply within themselves to grow. And it may feel a little bit isolating at first, because there'll be a time where you just really can't stand it. You really just can't stand the energy of other people. You can't stand the noise. You can't, of this frequency that they're pumping over their airstreams, and whatever, even the internet, if you don't turn off your router at night, then you should. Every single night, you should be turning it off while you sleep. Your sleep, your dream time, you're on another level of frequency, and you should not have that interfering. I promise you, you will sleep more soundly and peacefully if you turn it off during your nighttime dream state. Also, just saw amazing neuroscience talk about how important dreaming is. And don't feel bad if you don't remember your dreams. It is actually takes concentration and practice to kind of command the dream state with your conscious mind. But I can promise you from personal experience, it is very possible. A lot of people call it lucid dreaming, where you control the dream as you go. And there's lots of cultures that talk about the dream state, what it really means. Some people think it's higher dimensional connection, meaning, you're in a higher form of yourself. There's astral projection. There's all kinds of things that are associated with coming out of your body. Even the ancient Egyptians wrote about the Ka and the Ba. There's other cultures that use the Ka and the Ba in their language. But even in the life of ISSA, which is a very ancient writing that came out of, I believe, India or Tibet, they chronicle the life of Yahshua being Jesus. I don't use that name because the sounds and the words that you use are powerful. Frequency is powerful. It comes out of your throat in a spiral, not a wave. There's just a lot of misinformation through the centuries in order to disconnect us from our power and our ability to manifest. So I use the word Yahshua, which is his real name, which would be Joshua. Zeus actually means, Jesus means Hail Zeus. And that was the Romans' name that they gave to them. And that's who they worshiped, were Zeus. And the letter Z is, I think, only 500 years old or something ridiculous like that. But my point is, everything is a manipulation. And so that's why I say, cultivate a polymathic mind. Don't take my word for it. Please don't. Look this up for yourself. Be curious enough to look it up. Do not stifle your children's curiosity, because that's how we're supposed to be. I can't explain it any other way, but that innocent craving to know more, to ask, why mommy, why daddy, why, is innate in us because it is our life path. I truly believe that our happiness is centered in trying to understand. And we've had nefarious forces, whether they're the Mason cult, all these other things that I have learned about. Right now, it's the Zionists, but I do believe that they're all interconnected, that there's so many words to describe it. And English is such a weak language compared to others. And I speak 4 different languages, so I can tell you out of the 4, English is the most confusing. English is the most deliberately vague, and, things are vague. You're easily manipulated. So my point is that the words you use, the energy behind them matter. They matter more than you know. So I have so much coming down, but I'm going to try to make this a short episode because I have to move on and I have some clients. But Temet Nosce Know Thyself is probably one of the most profound words, Latin words ever used. Temet Nosce. And there's layers upon layers of the meaning of the word. So I invite you, my very honorable and appreciated listeners, to work on knowing thyself, all of thyself, understanding the macro reason for the micro reason of yourself, because it's connected. I encourage you to practice radical compassion. Examine all emotions, including anger, on a more profound level. And don't be afraid. Fear is the dominant tool of hegemonic forces, and we often pass that fear onto our children. And a fearless child is a child that's never going to be enslaved, mentally or physically. And we need more Gen Zs in the future. Okay? Gen Alpha, I don't know what the next one is called. I'm just referencing what most of you probably have heard. I wouldn't call it that. I would call it indigo. I prefer that, or star child. I prefer that. My point is that they're more connected on a higher level because we willed them into existence to save us. And so I do hope that this brought some peace to your mind, and I do hope you have a blessed day.